The air in the house was heavy with an old rule. Before marrying the family's main heir, a prospective spouse had to pull a marriage fortune from a special box. I, Ethan, had been engaged to Selina for 5 years, and she had drawn a good fortune every single time. This was precisely why I still couldn't marry her. This year was going to be her 6th time drawing. I was just near the ancestral hall when I overheard her conversation with the butler. "Miss Sterling, you've drawn a good fortune again," the butler said, sounding tired. Selina's voice, usually warm, was startlingly cool as she replied, "Just like before. Swap it for a bad one." She paused, then added, "My brother Marcus just returned to the country, and he's never liked the idea of me marrying you, Ethan. I know you're very understanding. You'll be fine waiting another year." It hit me then, though I'd suspected it for years. She still didn't want to marry me. I silently thanked the final clause in the Sterling family rule. If a good fortune wasn't drawn after 6 attempts, the engagement could be cancelled. Finally, I could be free to find the woman I'd let slip away. Later that evening, the soft, warm scent of Selina, mixed with the sharp, bold smell of a man's cologne, wrapped around me as I lay in bed. I had just opened my eyes when she started peppering me with soft kisses. The mood was quickly building, reaching a fever pitch, when I suddenly spoke, "What kind of fortune did you draw this time?" Her movements stopped instantly. She bolted up in the bed, the passion in her eyes gone. The romantic atmosphere was utterly ruined. I looked at her face. It was as beautiful as any famous movie star's, but right now it was stiff and unnatural. After a long silence, I finally heard her answer. "I drew a bad one." I said nothing, lowering my gaze to the pattern on the sheets, feeling absolutely no surprise. I had known the answer 2 hours ago. I'd been looking for my little orange cat, and happened to pass the ancestral hall. I'd heard her talking to the butler inside. "Miss Sterling, you've drawn a good fortune again," the butler said. Selina paused, then replied casually, "Same as always. Swap it for a bad one." The butler let out a deep sigh. "You and Mr. Thorne have been engaged for 5 years. Are you going to make him wait even longer?" Selina seemed to hesitate. "Just a little longer. Marcus just got back, and he's never liked the idea of me marrying Ethan." "Miss Sterling, you are the one getting married," the butler couldn't help but say, his voice rising slightly. "You can't keep making Mr. Thorne suffer for the young master's sake." Selina rubbed her temples. Her tone was dismissive. "Another year will be fine. Ethan does what he's told. He'll understand, and he'll be willing to wait." The butler looked like he wanted to say more, but the orange cat in my arms meowed restlessly. By the time Selina came out of the hall, I was already gone. I knew, for sure, she was doing everything she could to avoid marrying me this year, which meant swapping the fortune again. Seeing my silence now, she sighed and hugged me. I felt a pang of guilt in her embrace. Just then, her phone rang. I saw the screen light up. The contact name was Marcus. She quickly pulled away and walked out to the balcony to take the call. Her voice dropped, becoming gentle in a way it never was with me. I vaguely heard the word gala. When she finished the call and faced me again, her voice was strained. "Ethan, get out the Star of the Night Watch." I lay there, not moving, and asked curiously, "What do you need that watch for?" Selina avoided my gaze, looking out the window. "My father is attending a gala tonight. Just let him borrow it for a few days." Her future father-in-law wanted to borrow a watch. I had no valid reason to refuse, but I had my doubts. Why would her father need a watch when the call came from Marcus? Late that night, Selena still hadn't come home. Unable to sleep, I was scrolling through my social media feed. My finger stopped when I saw Marcus's new post. In the picture, Marcus was wearing a custom-tailored suit, the same suit Selena had commissioned for me 2 weeks ago. She'd said it was my birthday present, and on his wrist he was clearly wearing my Star of the Night watch. The diamond's sparkle seemed to bore right into my eyes through the screen. In that single moment, I knew. Selena had lied. Her father hadn't borrowed the watch at all. Marcus had taken it. In the photo, Marcus had his arm wrapped around Selena in a familiar, intimate way. His head was tilted slightly toward hers. They looked as close as a couple deeply in love. The caption was blatant and completely cutting. "My sister's gift. It looks best on me, after all." I stared at the photo, my fingers gripping my phone so tightly they hurt. Marcus was truly back in the country. No wonder she smelled of his strong cologne. I remembered that the watch wasn't really mine anyway. It was a Sterling family heirloom. Only the future son-in-law of the Sterling family was supposed to wear it. Selena had personally put it on my wrist the day we got engaged, explaining its significance. I was about to take a screenshot to confront her when a text from Selena suddenly popped up. It was just one short sentence. "Working late? Not coming home tonight." I immediately called her, but a cold, automated voice answered, "The number you have dialed has been turned off." I have no idea how I got through the rest of the night. Was Selena really working late, or was she with Marcus? As dawn broke, my best friend, Leo, called. His voice was full of shock. "Ethan, I saw Marcus at the hotel last night. Didn't the Sterlings say he had to stay abroad for 10 years before he could come back?" 4 years ago, the Sterling family had indeed promised that Marcus would stay abroad for 10 years. It was because he and I just couldn't get along. During my senior year of high school, shortly after the engagement, I'd earned a guaranteed spot at a top university. The very next day, Selena came to see me. We stood under the big oak tree on campus, a gentle breeze blowing. But her request was anything but gentle. "Ethan, Marcus wants that spot. Give it to him. He needs it more." Marcus's best school record had been ranking outside the top 100. He definitely needed the guaranteed admission more, or he'd never get into a good university, let alone become my schoolmate. Even though Selena was beautiful, and my fiancée, I refused. My future was important to me, and I wouldn't be swayed by anyone. Even my future brother-in-law. After I refused, Selena left with a dark look on her face. Then came the first drawing of the marriage fortune after the college entrance exams. She told me she had drawn a bad one. According to their tradition, without a good fortune, she couldn't marry me yet, even though we were engaged. She asked me to wait a year until she could draw again. The next year, the day before the drawing, Marcus, who was attending community college, cornered me with 2 of his buddies. "Ethan Thorne, my sister doesn't like you at all. She's only engaged to you to repay a debt. Even if she draws a good fortune tomorrow, she won't marry you. You should just break up with her." He was right about the first part. My mother had died saving Selena, crushed under a car. The Sterlings owed my family a life debt. Not long after the funeral, Selena's parents came to our house and proposed the marriage alliance. At the time, I also thought the Sterlings were just repaying a debt. But Selena told me she genuinely liked me. She promised to take my mother's place, protect me for the rest of my life, be a good wife, and give me a warm, stable home. The Thorne family business had just gone bankrupt, leaving us with huge debts. Looking at my grandmother in her hospital bed, her eyes full of hope, I had no choice but to agree to the engagement. After that, I got into a fight with Marcus and his friends. I ended up with a broken leg and spent a month in the hospital. Marcus's face got messed up in the fight, and Selena sent him abroad for treatment that very night. Soon after, the Sterling family promised they wouldn't let Marcus come back for 10 years, and they certainly wouldn't let him bully me again. But now, only 4 years had passed, and Selena had allowed him to return. She even secretly gave him the watch that only the Sterling son-in-law was meant to wear. At that moment, I was deeply disappointed in her. Selena didn't get home until the afternoon. I could smell the cologne on her again, even stronger this time. And Marcus was with her. He was still wearing the watch on his wrist, almost like he was showing it off. But when Marcus saw me in my pajamas, his expression changed, and he immediately started yelling, "Ethan Thorne, what right do you have to live in the Sterling house?" He raised his fist. Just as it was about to hit my face, I grabbed his wrist and pushed him away hard. "I'm Selena's fiancé. Why shouldn't I live here?" Marcus staggered back a few steps, his eyes turning red. He complained to Selena, playing the victim. "Sis, he hasn't even married you yet. How can he live here? It'll ruin your reputation. You have to kick him out." Selena's expression was conflicted. She didn't agree right away. 3 years ago, on the day my grandmother moved into a nursing home, I was left all alone. Worried, Selena had driven to my place in the middle of the night to pick me up. She told me that from then on, the Sterling house was my home and no one could ever kick me out. Her concern had been so genuine back then. I had believed her, which is why I'd agreed to move in. Seeing that she hadn't agreed to kick me out, Marcus bit his lip, his eyes instantly welling up. He cried out, sounding deeply wronged, "Sis, I don't want him living here. If he doesn't move out, I'll go live somewhere else." Selena quickly grabbed his hand. Her voice was panicked. "No, you just got back. You don't know your way around. I can't let you live outside by yourself." She then turned to me. There was a hint of apology in her eyes. "Ethan, Marcus has been staying in a hotel for the past 2 days. I want him to move back in. Could you just give him some space and move out for a little while? Please. Give him space." That phrase again. Maybe because I had been disappointed by Selena too many times, I wasn't even angry anymore. This time I actually agreed to give in to her. "Fine, I'll move out today." A wave of relief washed over Selena's face. It was immediately followed by a pang of guilt. "You don't have to be in such a hurry. Tomorrow is fine," she said quietly. Then she shot Marcus a look of disapproval. Marcus, however, just grinned, celebrating his victory. While Selena turned to answer her phone, he rubbed the watch on his wrist, the watch that should have been mine. He couldn't resist a few taunts. "So what if you're my sister's fiancé? She still gave me the watch I wanted, and when she tells you to get out of the house, you have to leave with your tail between your legs. I heard she drew a bad fortune again yesterday. Looks like you'll have to keep waiting. Maybe you'll wait until you're an old bachelor, and my sister still won't have drawn a good fortune to marry you." I looked up, my tone calm but my words sharp. "At least I got to be her fiancé. Some people will probably never have that title in their entire lives." Marcus froze for a second, instantly understanding the jab. His face flushed with anger. He shot me a vicious glare and stormed off. He knew better than anyone that he wasn't Selena's real brother. The true Sterling heir had disappeared at the age of 8. Marcus was just a replacement the family had found. No matter how obvious his feelings for Selena were, for a prominent family, reputation and image were everything. Selena's parents would never allow them to cross that line. For the rest of his life, he could only be Selena's brother, a stand-in hidden in the shadows. The butler came over and asked if I needed help packing. I refused. I had arrived with just one suitcase, and I would leave with just one. The custom suits and accessories that should have been mine had long been sold off, the money sitting safely in my bank account. The butler couldn't help but feel indignant for me. "Mr. Thorne, why don't you tell Miss Sterling that the family's marriage fortunes can only be drawn 6 times? He knew about the final clause in the Sterling family tradition, too. If a good fortune isn't drawn after 6 tries, the engagement can be voided. I shook my head, my eyes filled with nothing but acceptance. There's no need. If she really wanted to marry me, she wouldn't have made me wait this long. 5 years. Switching the fortunes again and again. Did she really think I didn't know? It was just her way of lying to herself. As I went downstairs, I saw Marcus clinging to Selina, his voice affectionate. "Sis, I want to join the company, and I want Ethan's position as project manager." This concerned the business, so Selina wasn't so foolish this time. She frowned and refused. "No. You studied art. What do you know about managing projects?" I didn't stick around to hear the rest. I left the Sterling house. The next day, after closing a deal with a client, I returned to the office. Everything from my office had been moved to a cubicle by the door. I suppressed my anger and demanded, "Who did this?" The HR manager, Mr. Harris, rushed out, terrified. Ethan, an hour ago Mr. Marcus was appointed the new project manager. You're his assistant now." So I had been demoted, and I had to be Marcus's assistant. Furious, I stormed up to the CEO's office on the top floor. Selina's assistant tried to block my way. "Mr. Thorne, the president is in an important video conference. She can't see you right now." I pushed the assistant aside and threw the door open. Selina wasn't in any video conference. On her desk lay a glossy photo book of Marcus's recent modeling work. One page showed him looking rebellious, the next looking sunny, all showcasing his toned body. Hearing the commotion, she didn't even look up. She just snapped irritably, "Get out!" I met her gaze and demanded, "Why did you demote me? In the 3 years I've been here, what have I done wrong?" I had started at Sterling Industries my junior year of college. I worked my way up from the bottom, becoming project manager in just 1 year. I led my team to land several major deals that everyone in the industry thought were impossible, delivering real results. I even developed stomach problems from working too hard. Selina knew all of this better than anyone. A flash of guilt crossed her face, and her voice softened. "Just let Marcus have this one, okay? He's still young, and just wants to have some fun. Once he gets bored, he'll give the position back to you." I almost laughed out of sheer anger. My fingertips dug deep into my palm. "Selina, have you counted how many times you've asked me to just let him have it over the past 3 years? Why should I always have to be the one to give in to him?" Just then, Marcus emerged from the private lounge inside the office. He was wearing a silk bathrobe, the collar open. His expression was triumphant. "Because I'm her brother. It's not my fault you weren't born with a loving older sister." I was an only child. I certainly didn't have a sister. But a sister like Selina? I wouldn't want one anyway. Seeing my frustration, Marcus made a suggestion. "If you can land that new project on the east side, I'll let you be project manager again." Everyone in our circle knew the east side property belonged to Ms. Evelyn. The woman had been divorced 3 times and was notoriously ruthless and difficult at the negotiating table. She was also known for her inappropriate and aggressive behavior toward her male business partners. Rumors of her misconduct were common. This project was a hot potato. For 3 months, few companies had dared to touch it. Before Marcus returned, Selina had also been against me taking on this project. But upon hearing Marcus's proposal, she fell silent, offering no objection. Marcus added a helpful reminder. Don't work too hard trying to close this deal. You wouldn't want to get yourself used up and thrown away. My sister's a bit of a germaphobe, you know. I paused for a second, then shot back sarcastically. I'm a germaphobe too, probably even more than she is. Selina's face instantly darkened. For the past 2 days, I had been actively avoiding her touch. In just a few seconds, I made my decision. Fine, I'll take the assignment, but I need President Sterling to sign these agreements we finalized this morning. Marcus and Selina exchanged a look. Marcus, in particular, had a triumphant smile. See, sis, I told you Ethan would take it. A top university grad wouldn't back down from a challenge like this. You lost the bet. You have to take me shopping this afternoon. I didn't want to stay a moment longer. I took the folder out of my bag. I deliberately placed it on top of Marcus's photo book. The photo book made for a perfect signing pad. Selina froze for a moment. She awkwardly picked up a pen and started flipping through the pages, signing them quickly. The sound of the pen scratching across the paper was rushed and sloppy. She didn't even bother to read the terms of the agreements. She certainly didn't notice that tucked inside the contracts was my resignation letter. According to company policy, employees had to give 30 days' notice. But with the president's special approval, the entire process could be completed in a week. For the next few days, I didn't go to the office. My personal belongings, which had been piled up at the cubicle, had been cleared out the day I accepted the assignment. All that remained was a clean desk, as if no one had ever been there. 5 days later, I was woken up by a barrage of notifications on my phone. I clicked on the trending topics. Evelyn family limo picks up mystery man. Ms. Evelyn's fourth husband, rumored to be revealed. The second headline was #1 on the trending list. The accompanying photo showed a black luxury car parked in front of my house. The window was half down, vaguely revealing a man and woman embracing in the back seat. The woman's face was unclear, but the profile of the man caught by the camera bore a strong resemblance to me. The comment section had already exploded. Someone had dug up Ms. Evelyn's identity. Evelyn Rhodes, 59 years old, a billionaire, and the chairwoman of the Rhodes Group. Someone else posted a photo of me with Selina. They speculated that since I'd failed to marry into a rich family, I had pivoted to the embrace of a wealthy older woman, ready to become a stepfather. I wasn't worried, nor did I offer any explanation. But Selina suddenly called, demanding an answer. "Ethan Thorne, I sent you to close a deal, not to fool around. Don't forget you are still my fiancé." I found it amusing. Weren't you the ones who told me to approach Ms. Evelyn? How am I supposed to land the project if I don't have dinner with her? If I give up on this project, will you let me go back to being project manager? Selina fell silent. I could faintly hear Marcus's voice in the background. "Sis, if you make Ethan project manager again, I'm leaving the country and never coming back." Selina said nothing more. Every time Marcus threatened her, she caved. This time was no exception. That evening, Marcus sent me a picture. It was an invitation to a Chamber of Commerce event that night. Below it were a few lines of text. There are only 2 invitations. My sister gave one to me. I'll be her date. Looks like she doesn't like you that much after all. So what if you've been by her side for 5 years? You can't even get an invitation. The person she really loves is me. I suggest you cancel the engagement and leave before things get ugly. The taunting tone was palpable even through the screen. I simply dialed a familiar number. "Ms. Evelyn, I'll be there on time for the gala tonight." When I walked into the banquet hall, wearing a velvet burgundy suit with Evelyn Rhodes on my arm, we instantly became the center of attention. Selina's face showed clear surprise, followed by a flash of admiration in her eyes. It had been a long time since I had dressed up like this. Her date, as expected, was Marcus. Throughout the evening, Many people were whispering about my relationship with Evelyn Rhodes. Some even said they were close to announcing a wedding date. Others countered that I was still Selena's fiancé, so how could I marry an old woman? All the major players from the business and tech worlds were there that night. I offered no explanation, becoming the topic of conversation once again. But I also met a lot of new people, and with Evelyn Rhodes's help, I managed to secure several private projects on the side. When I stepped out onto the balcony alone for some air, Selena quickly followed. "Ethan Thorne, how could you be Evelyn Rhodes's date? Don't you know how old she is?" I looked at her, amused. "Well, my fiancé brought someone else as her date. I was free, so I thought I'd help Ms. Evelyn out. It helps with the project, so what's wrong with that?" Selena rushed to explain. "Marcus just got back. I was just showing him around, letting him meet people." I scoffed. "He's been abroad for 4 years. You think he hasn't met people? Besides, every year on his birthday, you fly out of the country to travel with him." I had known this secret for a long time. Marcus and I shared the same birthday. For 5 years, she had never once celebrated with me. The first year, she made an excuse about needing to fly abroad to sign an urgent contract. But then I saw Marcus's social media post. The two of them were skiing in Switzerland. The second year, I thought she would celebrate with me, so I cooked a whole table of food. But her assistant told me she had already left the country the day before. Marcus's feed was updated that night too. Selena had taken him to an important gala overseas. By my 3rd birthday, I didn't wait for her, or even remind her. After hearing this, Selena looked guilty and couldn't meet my eyes. She could only say helplessly, "Ethan, I'm sorry. Next time I promise you'll be my date to the gala." I shook my head, my tone indifferent. There won't be a next time. She wouldn't get the chance to invite me, and I no longer cared. Evelyn Rhodes's assistant was walking over quickly. She reminded me that the party was ending soon. I turned and walked back to Evelyn's side. Selena opened her mouth, but the words to ask me to come back wouldn't come out. She was afraid Marcus would throw another tantrum. As we were leaving, a reporter stopped Evelyn Rhodes. The reporter asked with a smile, "Ms. Rhodes, there are rumors that the Rhodes family will be celebrating a happy occasion soon. Is that true?" Evelyn turned and looked at me. She smiled for the camera and announced loudly, "That's right. I'd like to take this opportunity to share some good news. Mr. Thorne will soon be marrying into our Rhodes family." As the words fell, I glanced back and saw Selena. She was standing behind us somewhere. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with shock and disbelief, as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. Marcus came over to pull her away. "Sis, I don't feel well. Can you take me home now?" This time, Selena shook him off. She turned to me and demanded angrily, "Ethan Thorne, what is going on?" I looked at her, completely calm. My voice was even. "You heard correctly. I'm marrying into the Rhodes family soon," Selena frowned. "Ethan, I know the East Side project is important, but you shouldn't joke about something like marriage." Even now, she didn't believe me. I smirked, but there was no humor in my eyes. "I'm not joking. Have you forgotten that our engagement was called off a long time ago?" Selena immediately retorted. Her voice was urgent. "Called off? When? How come I don't know about this? Ethan, just wait for me for 1 more year. I promise I'll draw a good fortune next year, and we'll have a grand wedding." Hearing this, I let out a cynical laugh. "You've said that 5 times already. I'm tired of hearing it and tired of waiting. I'm not waiting anymore." Just yesterday, I had visited my grandmother. I told her about calling off the engagement. My grandmother didn't approve. She said I had already waited 5 years, so what was 1 more? The Sterlings had been good to us, but I argued back. My mother had died saving Selena. The Sterlings owed my family. How could I sacrifice my own happiness for that? What a raw deal that would be. Selena couldn't bear the weight of that kind of debt anyway. Besides, she wasn't in love with me. I refused to be a substitute. Realizing I wasn't joking, Selena's tone turned mocking. Ethan Thorne, this engagement is not something you can just cancel on your own. I feigned surprise. The last rule in your family's tradition states that if a good fortune isn't drawn after 6 tries, the engagement can be voided. You didn't know? Selena's face went white. She fumbled for her phone, frantically calling the butler to ask. The answer was exactly what I'd said. She lunged at me, trying to grab my wrist. Ethan, I honestly didn't know about that rule. I stepped back, avoiding her touch. 6 drawings. 5 of them were good fortunes, and you changed every single one to a bad one. If you didn't want to marry me, you could have just said so. You didn't have to keep changing the fortunes and stringing me along. And you certainly didn't have to use me as a stand-in for Marcus, wasting 5 years of my life. Selena froze. She hadn't expected me to know about her switching the fortunes, or that I knew she was in love with Marcus. She wanted to explain, but she didn't know how. In the end, all she could say was, Ethan, I really do want to marry you. I shook my head, my eyes empty of emotion. I would never believe her words again. You've used up all 6 of your chances, and you've already taken back the engagement watch. Our engagement is over. Who I marry from now on has nothing to do with you. But she still refused to believe it, even concocting a clever excuse. Ethan, is it because you haven't landed the East Side project yet? It's okay. I don't want the project anymore. You can come back to work tomorrow, back to your position as project manager, okay? The moment she finished speaking, Marcus started pulling at her arm, throwing a fit. No, sis, I won't let him come back. If you agree, I'll leave the country and never return. Selena's assertiveness vanished instantly. She turned and started cooing at Marcus, trying to calm him down. I couldn't be bothered to watch their drama anymore. I turned and got into the Rhodes family's limo, which had been waiting for me. For 2 days straight, I didn't show up at the office. On the 3rd day, Selena couldn't help but go look for me. But my office was empty. There was nothing there. She rushed to ask the HR manager. President Sterling, Ethan submitted his resignation 7 days ago. The paperwork was just finalized yesterday. Selena stood there, stunned. It took her a long time to process it. Impossible. Who approved his resignation? The HR manager was prepared. He handed her my resignation form. There, clear as day, was her own signature, dated exactly 7 days prior. Her eyes remained fixed on the paper. It took her a long while to remember what had happened. 7 days ago, she had appointed Marcus as project manager. I had stormed into her office and later handed her several agreements to sign. She hadn't looked closely at the time. She'd just signed them all. Realizing this, she stormed over to my house. Ethan Thorne, how dare you trick me and resign behind my back? I wasn't surprised to see her. That's right. I'm done working for a brainless boss. Selena hadn't expected me to be so blunt. You're making all this fuss just because I let Marcus take your spot as project manager? I shook my head calmly. No. Selena had no choice but to drop her pride and try to persuade me. All right, you've thrown your tantrum. You've had your fun. Come back to work tomorrow as project manager. I'll make Marcus my assistant. But I no longer needed such arrangements. You think I'm throwing a tantrum? That's hilarious. My wedding date is set. You're welcome to attend the ceremony in a week. Selena's patience wore thin, her voice dripping with disdain. Cut it out, Ethan. This joke isn't funny. Do you really think I'd believe you're marrying that old woman? Evelyn Rhodes? I didn't waste my breath arguing. I just threw out, "Believe what you want." With that, I left her standing there. The Rhodes family's driver had been waiting outside for a while. The wedding in a week was real. I was on my way to a suit fitting. 3 days later, I was trending on social media again. Thorn Industries and Rhodes Group announce major merger. Thorn Industries officially goes public. When Selena saw the news, I and Evelyn Rhodes were signing our names on a contract. The new project she had been so determined to win now belonged entirely to Thorn Industries. Her phone rang again. The caller ID was Selena. When I answered, her voice was full of shock and confusion. There was even an undercurrent of panic. "Ethan Thorne, what the hell is going on?" I replied with a laugh. I suddenly realized that working for myself is much better than working for someone else. At least I won't be inexplicably demoted. 5 years ago, Thorn Industries went bankrupt, and I was forced to agree to the marriage alliance. I had been working tirelessly to pay off the debts ever since. But I never had the heart to sell the Thorn family's factories. My old employees had stuck with me through the toughest times. They were the foundation for rebuilding my family's legacy. After joining Sterling Industries, I used the company's resources and connections to secretly prop up my own business. Selena never knew about any of it. She always thought my family was broke, that my grandmother and I could only survive because of her. She looked down on me, which is why she never took our engagement seriously. She kept changing the fortunes, refusing to marry me. Landing this major project with the Rhodes Group was the perfect launch for Thorn Industries' IPO. It was only then that Selena understood. "So you quit, not because you were demoted, but because you were going back to your own company, and you were negotiating the East Side project for your own company." In that moment, it all clicked. The project she had sent me to secure had been snatched up right under her nose. Worse, my company operated in the same sector as Sterling Industries. Now we were competitors. I didn't want to be entangled with her anymore. "Selena, let's just part ways amicably." But Selena grew agitated. "No! I don't object to you wanting to be a boss and going back to your own company, but I do not agree to you ending our engagement." I immediately hit her with a blow. "I'm getting married in 3 days. To a Rhodes." Selena again refused to believe him. "Ethan, stop threatening me. You wouldn't marry an old woman just for a project. I know you want to end the engagement because Marcus is back, but he really is just my brother. The person I love now is you." I laughed. "Whatever happens between you and your brother from now on has nothing to do with me." Selena spat out in anger. "I'd like to see if you actually marry into the Rhodes family in 3 days. Who would give up a young, beautiful fiancée for a woman who's almost 60? Ethan Thorne, I'll be waiting for you to come crying back to me, begging to get back together." But not long after, a gold-embossed wedding invitation was delivered to Selena. Her fingers tightened around the card. The bride's name on it wasn't Evelyn Rhodes. It was Clara Rhodes. The media had already gone wild. Reports of the marriage alliance were everywhere. Everyone was stunned that Evelyn Rhodes had a daughter. Selena felt like she had been struck by lightning. She had been so certain I was just bluffing about marrying a Rhodes to scare her. She never imagined I was actually getting married, and the person I was marrying was not the old woman she'd pictured. Soon, Clara Rhodes's background was completely exposed. She was Evelyn Rhodes's daughter from her first marriage and her only child. After her parents divorced, she moved to the countryside with her father. No one knew that when I was 7, because my mother was busy with the company, I had been sent to live with my grandfather in the countryside. There, Clara and I had spent 3 full years of our childhood together. I met her again in high school. She was 2 years ahead of me. They had promised to go to the same university, but during my senior year, My family fell on hard times. My mother died saving Selena. My company went bankrupt and fell into debt. At the same time, she was offered a scholarship to study abroad. It was a world-renowned university, and medicine had always been her dream. I didn't want to hold her back, so I broke up with her. I met her again when she returned from her studies abroad. For 5 years, I had worked myself to the bone. I developed a severe stomach condition. When I went to the doctor, she happened to be my physician. I also learned that all these years, she had remained single, waiting for me. Just as Selena changed the fortune for the 6th time, I was able to end the engagement and finally break up with her for good. I accepted Clara's proposal. What I hadn't expected was that the kind, sunny Clara was actually Evelyn Rhodes's daughter. So we staged the whole charade. We deliberately leaked that I was marrying into the Rhodes family, but never specified who. It successfully fooled Selena. Soon, my phone rang urgently. It was Selena's number. Her voice was filled with a barely suppressed panic. "Ethan Thorne, who exactly are you marrying?" I held the phone, my voice calm. "Who I marry is none of your business." With that, I hung up. Her voice was cut off completely. The day before the wedding, I was in the bedroom trying on my suit. Suddenly, a commotion erupted downstairs. A moment later, a frantic knock came at the door. "Sir, Miss Sterling! She forced her way in!" I adjusted my bow tie, took a deep breath, and went downstairs. In the living room, Selena stood in the center. Her dress was wrinkled, her hair slightly disheveled. It looked like she had rushed over. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. Then they were overwhelmed by a potent mix of resentment and panic. She strode toward me but was stopped by the bodyguards. She struggled, her eyes locked on me. Her voice trembled, almost imperceptibly. "You're marrying Clara Rhodes. You've known each other all along, haven't you? You've been lying to me from the start." I walked up to her and looked at her quietly. I once thought she might be the light that saved me from my despair. I had been ready to be her husband. Only later did I realize she just saw me as a clinging vine dependent on her. Now that I had found my own roots, I would not be going back. "I just didn't tell you that the person I'm marrying is Clara. As for us knowing each other, that's part of our past, and it has nothing to do with you." Selena's expression turned frantic. Her eyes were red as she demanded, "Ethan Thorne, we have an engagement. Have you forgotten that when your mom died, I was the one who supported you? When the Thorne Company went bankrupt, I was the one who took you into my home and gave you the resources to establish yourself at my company. Now that you're successful, you're just going to kick me to the curb and marry someone else? What is your heart made of?" I couldn't believe she still didn't see her own mistakes. My voice turned cold. "You're the one who kept changing the fortunes for Marcus's sake, who never took our engagement seriously. As for you helping me, it was only because you felt you owed my mom a life debt. And the resources at your company, I've more than paid that back with all the deals I closed. Selena, even now you don't realize that the person you truly love is Marcus. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made me give in to him time and time again." "I don't," Selena argued. "Marcus is really just my brother. Ethan, let's not call off the engagement, okay? You want to go back to Thorne Industries and be a CEO? I support you. We can even have our companies collaborate, just like before. The wedding you want, I'll have it arranged immediately. Please don't marry Clara Rhodes, okay?" I shook my head. "I used to think you were a good person. Now I know you're just toxic. We were never meant to be. Selena, I'm getting married tomorrow. Please leave. Don't make a scene." I finally got to say those words back to her. The sound of steady footsteps came from the doorway. Clara walked into the living room wearing an elegant suit. She was holding a small jewelry box. She walked naturally to my side, protectively positioning herself slightly in front of me. Her gaze was calm as she looked at Selina. "Ms. Sterling, tomorrow is my wedding to Ethan. You are not welcome here today. Please leave." Selina stared at the hand Clara had placed on my shoulder. The jealousy in her eyes was about to spill over. She opened her mouth to say something, but under Clara's icy glare, no words came out. In the end, she could only stare at me, her eyes filled with resentment and regret. But she was helpless. "Ethan Thorne, I won't give up on you." She left me with those words and stumbled out of the house. The living room was finally quiet again. Clara turned around and gently smoothed the frown on my forehead. She opened the jewelry box. Inside was a pair of simple, elegant platinum cufflinks. "Don't let irrelevant people ruin your mood." She gently took out the cufflinks and fastened them on my cuffs. "Tomorrow, you're going to be the happiest groom in the world." I touched the platinum at my wrist. No one would be taking this from me. I turned to look at Clara. My eyes were filled with a smile. Yes, the past was the past. Tomorrow was my new beginning. The next day, the wedding ceremony was proceeding smoothly. Suddenly, Selina burst in, trying to disrupt everything. Just as the scene was about to spiral out of control, I calmly took out my phone and dialed Marcus's number, Asartin. Moment later, Selina's phone vibrated. A video popped up on her screen. In it, Marcus was standing on a balcony railing. The wind whipped his shirt around him, his eyes filled with a desperate, manipulative threat. "Sis, if you don't come get me right now, I'm going to jump." Selina stood frozen, her knuckles white from clenching her fists, her breath caught in her throat, a fierce internal battle raging within her. She looked at me, her eyes pleading and hesitant. But in the end, that hesitation lost to her concern for Marcus. She spun around and practically stumbled out of the church. I watched her hurried departure. I felt a deep sense of relief. No matter how long I waited or how many times I gave in her heart, Marcus would always be the one she would drop everything for. Thankfully, I had long since abandoned all expectations. This wedding was my farewell to the past. From the moment she turned her back, I would never give her another chance to come back. The wedding ceremony was completed as planned, with Clara as my bride. After the wedding, we left for a vacation on a tropical island. The sun, the sand, and the company of the one I loved completely washed away the shadows of the past. But before I left, I sent the Sterling family a generous gift. The real Sterling heir, David, who had been abducted many years ago. I had finally found him. The news of David's return to the Sterling family was plastered all over the internet by the media and reporters. Selina's parents, who were in Europe, rushed home immediately upon hearing the news. When they were reunited with their biological son, they also learned that his engagement to Selina had been called off. And the catalyst was the imposter, Marcus. Mrs. Sterling's face instantly darkened, especially when David tearfully revealed the truth of what happened back then. He had been deliberately kidnapped by Marcus's father and abandoned in the countryside to suffer. Meanwhile, his father had sent his own son to the Sterling family to take his place. Mrs. Sterling trembled with rage. She grabbed the pale-faced Marcus, who was standing nearby, and slapped him hard across the face. She roared, "You usurper! We've been harboring a snake in our own home! Get out of this house right now and don't you ever show your face here again!" Marcus clutched his cheek, tears streaming down his face, and turned to Selina for help. But at that moment, Selina was looking at David. She was the one who had taken her brother out to play that day. That was when he was abducted by Marcus's father. Thinking of all the years she had defended Marcus out of guilt, and how she had hurt me because of it, her heart filled with remorse and regret. She was in no mood to plead for Marcus. She just turned her face away. "You should go. Don't stay here any longer." But Marcus just laughed. He told them a secret. He said he could give the Sterling family an heir. Later, my friend Leo told me what happened. That day, Marcus confessed that doctors had long ago diagnosed Selena as being unable to have children. He used this as a bargaining chip, claiming that he and his ex-girlfriend, Stacy, had a son named Alex, who could be adopted by Selena as the Sterling family heir. For the sake of continuing the family line, Selena and her parents eventually compromised, setting him up in one of their properties. But it wasn't long before Stacy showed up and exposed everything. It turned out Marcus had been lying to her all along. The child wasn't his. He had promised Stacy a large sum of money to play along, but never paid her a dime. When Selena learned of this double deception, she was furious. Leo said she nearly strangled Marcus on the spot. Seeing his scheme had unraveled, Marcus took what money he could and fled. As for the child, the Sterlings sent him to an orphanage. The next time Selena saw me, I was on stage at a new product launch. My wife, Clara, stood beside me, her belly already showing. She was 6 months pregnant. Selena could only watch me from a distance. She didn't dare get closer. She certainly didn't dare to disturb me. She had regretted it more than once. If only she hadn't changed the fortunes time and time again, would I be her husband now? Would their child be on the way? But there were no if-onlys and no second chances in life. After the press conference, in the lounge, Clara gently linked her arm with mine, resting her head on my shoulder. She asked softly, "How are you feeling? Are you okay?" I shook my head. She was a doctor and had never wanted to take over the Rhodes family business. If it weren't for my need for revenge, for my need to save Thorne Industries, she would never have agreed to return to the Rhodes family. Besides, Evelyn Rhodes had cancer and didn't have much time left. Her condition for cooperating with me had been that Clara would return to the family. After we married, the kind-hearted Clara continued to work as a doctor, saving lives. She'd said her mother had made many mistakes in her life. By doing good as a doctor, she hoped to atone for her mother's debts. As for the Rhodes Group, she didn't know anything about business. I was currently in the process of taking it over. It would all be mine in the future. When our child grew up, I would pass it on. And both mother and daughter had agreed that our second child would take the Thorne name. That way, both families would have an heir. My grandmother was so happy that her health improved significantly, and she was even able to leave the nursing home. I received another call from Selena. It was a year later. I was in the nursery with my child. I assumed she was calling to stir up trouble again, but it was the butler on the line. "Mr. Thorne, could you please come to the hospital?" It turned out Selena had cancer. Ever since I got married, her lifestyle had become erratic. She smoked, drank, and stayed up all night, burning through her health. By the time it was discovered it was already terminal, Selena refused to fight it. The cancer spread too quickly. In just 5 months, she was rail thin and couldn't even get out of bed. The doctor had issued a critical condition notice that day. Her dying wish was to see me one last time, which was why the butler had dared to call me. I was silent for a moment. Then I agreed. At her bedside, the once tall, beautiful woman was now just skin and bones, completely unrecognizable. Her frail body didn't even have the strength to lift a hand. She could only gaze at me with a devoted look. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. If there's a next life, I will cherish you." A next life? I was a firm materialist. But if there really was a next life, I hoped we would never meet. That way, neither of us could hurt the other. Still, I accepted her apology to let her pass on in peace. After the funeral, David joined the company. Mr. Sterling also returned to the office and began teaching him the ropes. He would be the future heir of the Sterling family. On my birthday, I leaned against Clara, looking out at the deep blue sea. I sighed contentedly. It's good. All the wrongs have finally been set right. Clara chuckled softly and kissed my cheek. The sunlight fell on her face, tracing a gentle silhouette. She was the woman who truly cherished me. I had nothing more to ask for. I only wished for peaceful days and a safe, healthy family.